The technology firm Palantir has sparked outrage after publishing a 22-point manifesto envisioning a future dominated by autonomous weapons and deeper integration between government and big tech. The doctrine has fueled a broader debate about the growing power of these companies and their ties to authoritarian governments and militaries accused of war crimes. Joining me to discuss this is Yanis Varoufakis, former finance minister of Greece and author of the book Techno-Feudalism: What Killed Capitalism. Yanis, it's a pleasure to have you on UpFront. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you. The pleasure is mine.
So let's talk about this manifesto. You've said that Palantir's recent manifesto openly declares that it will defend a ruling elite, quote, to the death, literally. What was your reaction to the manifesto?
Well, you know, I actually welcomed it because this is the very first time, at least to my knowledge, that a company that is devoted to mass death, a weapons manufacturer, a software manufacturer that targets innocent people. Remember the 180 schoolgirls that were killed by a Tomahawk missile at the beginning of this Iran war were targeted by Maven, a program sold by Palantir. A company like that comes out with a manifesto. It's a blueprint for a diabolical, cowardly new world. So, you know, I welcome it because it is important to be able to read their own blueprint for a world that, you know, then if we allow them to take over control of the world, well, it's our fault. It's humanity's fault. We have a duty of care to ourselves as a species. To read through the lines, between the lines, and stop them.
Palantir's AI systems were actually used to fuel Israel's genocide in Gaza and, of course, the US-Israeli war in Iran. Even here in the United States, where I am, it is expanding its partnership and collaborating with US Immigration and Customs Enforcement to spy or to surveil immigrants and actually deport them. So my question is, how do you see the relationship between these technologies and violence, genocide, and potentially fascism? What does that look like?
Well, if you read that manifesto, those 22 points, which of course have been extracted from a whole book that was published by Alexander Karp, the CEO of Palantir, what you'll find is a very audacious attempt to essentially create another ideological justification for the return to weaponized racism. So if you look at the last few points amongst those 22, it is very, very clear. They're arguing in favor of a new hierarchy of cultures. We've seen this before, haven't we? This is exactly what Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler's textbook, was advocating. A hierarchy of races. They call it different cultures, but that's what they mean. Racial profiling, the idea that some cultures are superior to other cultures. So you have, you know, effectively the essence of the ideology of Nazism and of South African apartheid coming back as a mainstream ideology peddled by one of the companies whose meteoric rise in the stock exchanges have ensured that, for instance, you know, did you know that Palantir has a much higher capitalization in the New York Stock Exchange than Lockheed Martin that produced the F-35s? So when you put the two together, the burgeoning capitalization, financial power of a company like Palantir, alongside its ideological pursuit, its pursuit on the ideological opinion-making level dimension, then you get an idea of the threat that our species is facing from companies like Palantir.
So Palantir has its own justifications, does it not? The manifesto states that US adversaries will not pause to debate about the merits of developing military technologies. They'll just proceed. So where are we now? Are we in the middle of an arms race?
Oh, yes, of course. We've now always been in the middle of the arms race. AI-driven drones, AI-driven weaponry is the next great threat. It is quite interesting that Palantir themselves, in one of these 22 points, clearly state that, the nuclear arms race is over, or actually nuclear arms deterrence is over. And what they are advocating, because they don't make nuclear weapons. If they were making nuclear weapons, they would want to sell more of them. So what they're saying is that the next great conflict, global conflict, will be over AI-driven weaponry, and they may be right about that. They are saying that AI-driven robots are coming. What progressive people, what rational, sensible people should say is, well, maybe we should have an international agreement for limiting this new threat to humanity. What Palantir is saying is, let's go all for it. Let's have more of them. Let's build those machines that kill humanity and then ask questions later. What I'm saying is that this is detrimental to the interest of our species.
Well, on that disconcerting note, let me thank you for joining us here on UpFront. Lots to think about. Yanis Varoufakis, thank you.
Well, thank you.
That's our show. UpFront will be back next week. Goodbye.